everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 172. Today I'm going to talk about Nieuw Amsterdam and the Dutch West India Trading Company, or Nieuw Amsterdam. This is a game from White Goblin Games. It was released at Essen last year, 2012. It's now kind of making its way over. Oh, I shouldn't say, I don't think it was released at Essen. I think it was kind of previewed and then released shortly afterwards, if my memory serves me right. But now it's making its way stateside. It plays 2 to 5 players, and it says 90 minutes. Sure, that seems about right. So it's a Euro game. It does have some nice thematic elements integrated into the game and the mechanics and everything like that. Let me just show you how it plays, and I'll come back and tell you more what I think. Okay, I've got the board here kind of set up for 3 players. The board's divided into some different sections here. I think it's laid out quite nicely, actually. You've got this area here, which is the settlement here, and this is an area that players are going to be developing businesses in. You've got this little auction box over here. These are going to have action tiles placed in these spots here. So we're going to shuffle these up every round and put these out here for the players to bid on. So in a 3-player game, we're going to have basically 3 columns of action tiles, and then you're going to basically have 1 column per player in the game. Then at the top of the board up there, you've got a sort of an Indian settlement area there. You can see possibly these little houses up there. These are going to kind of move away and move to the right, and you've also got player trading posts here. So as players kind of develop land in their personal display, you're theoretically and sort of abstractly eating away at the Indians' land, and they're going to have to sort of retreat further inland. That's pretty interesting. And there's also a display of pelts here. These are going to be randomly seeded from a bag every round. And so you're going to basically want to be trading for these pelts that you're then going to basically kind of like ship back to Europe or ship and export those. So players are going to start with this little card in front of them here. And this is sort of a little warehouse storage area. You get one of these little houses here. You're going to put that there. And this is going to be storage. You can see the little spaces there for these black cubes. Now players are going to start with a certain amount of goods. And on the back of the cards here, they handily have your starting stuff. So you start with 25 houses, and you get these nice chunky big wooden houses here. These are going to serve multiple purposes, for making businesses and warehouses and all kinds of good stuff. You're going to get 2 corns that come in these little cylinders, 3 wood, 4 of the goods cubes. They're just abstract goods. They're not a specific good. And then you get $8, and you get 2 pelts. So this is how the player display is going to look at the beginning of the game. You've got a variety of goods here. And the interesting thing about this is the first step of each round is going to be a bidding phase where you bid for the action tiles like I showed you. And I'll show you just how that's done in just a second. But for this phase, all of these different items here are considered basically of equal value. So when you want to bid on something, you could say, I will bid 5. So you could bid, $5. Or you could bid 3 wood and 2 corn. Or you could bid, 2 wood, 2 pelts, and $1 or something like that. Or you could use a good if you wanted. So even though these have very specific purposes throughout different actions of the game, which I'm going to show you, for the bidding phase, they're for all intents and purposes equal. So let's take a look at this little auction block here. Now to start the game, players are going to randomly get a little turn order marker here. So we've got 1, 2, and 3 in this case. And I should just note, you can kind of see the iconography here, as well as in a lot of places on the board. This is really great. It serves as a quick reminder. It really moves the game along, and it kind of shows you, what's happening here. So the first thing the player is going to do is the one with the first player marker. He's going to choose one of these columns. He's going to say, okay, I like this column. I like these actions here. And then he's going to name a price. He's going to say maybe 6. So then the second place player here is going to say, okay, he's going to pass. And then the third place player can pass or one-up the bid. So there's going to be a lot of pressure here, especially the first time you play, for the first player to kind of pick the right price and kind of understand the value. I'm going to say just kind of throw that out for your first play. It's definitely going to take you at least 1 play, if not 2, to kind of get a sense of the value of what's going on here. And this is very much sort of the fulcrum of the game, and it's going to be a lot of, the decisions and the points that are going to be scored are all going to be driven by this here. So again, it's kind of like a name your price thing. You don't keep going around and around at an auction. If somebody outbids you, that's too bad. You've got to really know the price. So what are you bidding on here? Well, you can see there's different colored action tiles, and there's 3 different colors. So you've got orange, white, and blue. And you can see there's 3 different things here that you can do. So what you're going to do is you're going to win these. If you get any bonus coins here, you're going to get coins back. And again, you can bid with any of the items in your supply. And let's say, just for argument's sake, the second place player, the second guy in turn order, he wins this. So he's going to take all 3 of these. He's going to get these action discs. He's also going to get first in turn order. And then he's going to give the his turn order marker to the person that set up the auction. So then we're going to go and turn order. The second place guy's going to go, he's going to bid, and then he's going to do that. Let's say he wins it, so he's going to keep his turn order marker. He's going to get all these action tiles, and then the last guy's going to get in here. He's basically going to get these for free without having to pay anything. So he's going to get these 2 action tiles and these $2 and keep his turn order marker. And then we're going to move into the action phase here. So let's take a quick look at the various actions that you can do and then go from there. So in turn order, we're going to work through the 3 types of actions here. So the orange tiles here, they're basically building in the city and putting up businesses and holding elections here. The second phase is going to be land actions, and I'll explain that in a second. And then you're going to go into sort of a trading phase. So basically, in turn order, anybody that has these orange discs is going to be able to take one of 2 possible actions here. So let's say I was the first player, I would take my 2 actions, and then everybody's going to get to do a special action. And those are indicated on the city here. You don't have to have a building in here or anything. These are just sort of icons that show you the different possible actions of the game. So again, if I had these, I could take 2 of these. I could take this one twice or take each one, and then my special action could go before or after. It doesn't matter. If I don't have these, I can still take the special action. Then we're going to move into the land phase. Anybody that has these tiles here is going to be able to take actions, and then again you can take a special action in that phase even if you don't have the tiles. And then finally, anybody that has the trade tiles will be able to take either one of these 2 trade actions and then also the special actions again. So let me first go over each of these sort of basic actions, and then I'll talk about the special actions real quickly. So when you take a building action, the first thing you can do is you can build 1 to 3 businesses in any of these districts. And it's going to cost you 1 wood per building. So I could build 2 there, or 2 there, or I could build 3. So that's the action you can do. The second action you can do with the building icon is hold an election. Now, how does that work? Well, basically that's a cheap way to score victory points for yourself during the game. When you hold an election, you only consider where you have the majority or you're tied for the majority. So let's say the building, they look like this. In the yellow player's turn, he's going to take the election action. He's going to look at his areas. He has the majority here, so he's going to get 3 points for that. He's tied for the majority here, and he gets 2 points. And that's all you're going to do. You're going to look at your buildings. If you have majority or tied, in this case yellow would get 5 points. He's going to move his little shield here up 5 points on the marker. We don't consider blue's buildings in that case. If blue had this and then he played an election action, then he would look at his. He'd get 3 points for that and 2 points for that because he's tied. So you got to be careful. If somebody were to get like 3 of these, let's say randomly these were 3 of these orange tiles, and then the yellow player gets it, he could get this and basically do like 3 election actions. Now let's look at the land actions here. There's a couple different things you can do here. The first thing you can do is take a land card, and then you can clear a land card. So let's take a look at that. So underneath the board here, we've got 2 decks of cards. We've got some shipping cards here, and then some land cards there. So right now we're just concerned with the land cards. The first thing you can do again is just take a land card. You take a land card here, and then you're going to put it in your display. So to the left and right of your card is where you're going to be putting these other cards. So when you take a card, you're going to put it here like so. All your land cards that you're going to get here are going to go on this side, and then if you get any ships, which I'll talk about in a second, they're going to go on the left-hand side of your display here. So the first action you do is you just take a land card. What you're going to do is you're going to put a piece of wood on there, so you sort of claim this land, and then now you've got to clear it. So the second possible action with this land token here is to be able to clear this land and basically set it up for farming. Now to do that, you have to have built 2 little farms on there. I'll explain how you do that in a second. Once you do that, you can take that land action to clear this, and you basically clear this, and you're going to get that much wood. In this case, you're going to get 3 wood, and now you've set this up to farm 4 corn for you per turn. Now, if you had a few of these, let's say you hadn't, you had built these on here, you hadn't cleared these yet, and so you could have maybe several of these or a couple of these, and you've got these farms on here. When you take the clear action, you can clear all the way to the right, where you filled up the little building icons there. So I could have gotten 2 of these, and maybe on a later turn cleared all of these. I'll take both these off. In this case, I would get 7 wood, and I'd start producing 4 plus 2 is 6 corn every turn. Now, if we take a quick look just over here, there's some more fancy iconography here. So this is going to show you how many points you're going to get for clearing land. So basically, the number of cards to the right of your little wharf display there is the number of points you're going to get. So if you take a turn and you clear, the second one, to the right, you're going to get 3 points. And then later on you clear again, you're going to get 10 points. So this is another way to get points there. Now the interesting part about this is very kind of nice little thematic twist, is when you take the action here, when you take the action just to take the land card, when you take one of these cards and put it in front of you, then the Indians, in a sense, are going to have to retreat because they're kind of taking their land. So these little villages here, they're going to represent the Indian territory. Anytime somebody takes that action to take a land card, you're going to move one village from the leftmost spot where there is a village and move it to the right. And this is important when we talk about the next phase, the trading. So you see you got your little trading posts in the color here at the start of the game. So as these move, so let's say we've taken one land card, we take a second one, we take a third one. Okay, now this spot here is used for 4+ player games only. We're playing a 3-player game. So we're going to take that fourth land card. There's nowhere for this to go. You're going to discard this. So we're going to sort of eat away at the Indian's land here. So we take, another land card here, another land card here, and he moves over here. And then you can see him start to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle until there's only one left there at the end of the game. Well, to trade with the Indians, which is the next phase we're going to talk about, you need your trading hut basically, parallel to at least one hut. So if it was sort of like this, you could trade with them if you had your hut here and here. And there's also limited spaces here for your trading posts as well, and there's some actions you can take to move them down. If you're not directly across, then you can pay corn to trade. So if we move this over here, let's say nobody had moved theirs, to be able to trade with the Indians, they have to pay 1-2 corn to take that trade action. So let's talk about the trading action, how that works. So the first type of trade action over here on the right is basically exchanging your goods with the Indians here to get some of these pelts here. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can pay 3 goods and take all of these, 4 goods, take all of these, or 1 good apiece and sort of pick and choose these up here. Now what you want to do, what you're really trying to do, is get a consistent set of the like goods, because it's going to help you score more points if you have more identical goods. So anyway, that's very simple. You take that action with the trade token, and then you get some goods, or some pelts. Now the other action you can take with the trade token is you can trade pelts that you've collected into these ships, and then these will help you produce more goods. So let's take a look at this here. So this was telling us that we need to exactly 4 pelts, and we can trade and get this ship. Now the trick with the pelts is, if you take a look here, we've got some different pelts here. So let's say I had 2 of this pelt here, and then I had 2 of this little muskrat pelt there. So you're going to decide which pelt is going to give you 3 points, which one's going to give you 2 points, and possibly 1 point. So you're going to choose a type, and then you're going to get 3, 2, and then 1 for anything else. So if you have 4 of these types of pelts here, you would get 3 points for each of them. Okay, because you've only got one type, you're always going to choose 1 and get 3 points for those. So you get 12 total points. Now let's say I had 2 of these and 2 of these. I would just choose 1. I would get 3 and 3, so that would be 6, and this would be 2 and 2, so 8 and 10. So like that. If you had 4 different ones, you would get 3, 2, 1, and 1. So you get 3, 5, 6, 7. So you want a bunch of the same so you get more points. And then you're always going to get these little coins here as a bonus. So what's going to happen when you ship to this ship here, you're going to take and put that on the left hand side, as I said before, and then at the end of every round you're going to generate this many goods. But when you generate goods, you've only got a certain amount of space here, so you're going to have to build, and this is where we're going to start talking about these special actions here. You're going to have to build these little warehouses here to be able to store more goods. So there's 6 possible special actions, and remember, during each of the phases here, you take the token actions that you won at auction, and you can always, through each of the different 3 phases, take 1 special action before or after you execute these, and even if you don't have these. And again, with the iconography, it's really nice. You've got sort of a turn outline here, going through the different, setting up each round, the auction, the different phases, and then some cleanup. But let's stick to the special actions here. Let's clear these buildings here, and you can do a couple of different things, okay? Let's just start here on the left. You can pay 1 wood, and then you can build 1 warehouse. And so when you build a warehouse, again, you just basically put a new building here on the side, and it gives you more storage space. The next thing you can do is you can pay 1 wood, and then you can move your trading post further down the line. So that way when you want to trade with these guys, you don't have to waste food doing it. You can just pay a wood and move it down. Now you see some of these are white, some of these are black. In a 3-player game, you just use the white ones. So the next guy would have to, he'd pay 1 wood and he'd be able to skip ahead of you. But you can never, skip ahead of the Indian. So he'd be kind of stuck here for a little bit until one of these moved over and be forced to pay food to trade. Okay, let's take a look at the next one here. You can see this one possibly. This one is the black market, and you can pay a combination of goods and coins to draw pelts out of the bag here. So basically it's it's 3 of whatever for each pelt up to a max of 3. So you could pay 2 goods and a coin, or 2 coins and a good, or whatever there. Next we've got the lumber yard, and you can pay coins for wood. So if you're short on wood, you can just get as many as you want. And then let's move down a little bit here. This one you can pay a wood, and you can build 1 to 3 buildings on top of your lands. And remember, you need to have these filled up to be able to clear them, to get the wood out of them, and then also get them producing corn, which is going to be very important. I'll talk about why that's so important in a minute. But once you get these filled up, then you can take again that action there to clear the land once you've filled up these with houses. And then finally you can buy corn. You can buy as much corn as you want. So once we've gone through the 3 phases, everybody's taken their actions based on the tokens and the special actions. We're going to go through a little bit of a cleanup phase. Any cleared land is going to produce corn for you. So in this case, let's say I would produce 6 corn. And then you're going to have to pay corn for each building, each business out here. So if I had 3 buildings, I'd have to pay 3 corn. If you can't, you have to pay what you can, and then you remove a building for each corn you can't, and then you lose 2 victory points for each building. So that's no fun. And then we're going to collect goods. So for each ship that we've gotten, we're just going to have the ship stacked there like this. You're going to look at the number of goods. You're going to generate those, and again, you need room in the warehouse for those. And then you're going to get $1 for each district that you have a business in. So even though I've got 2 here, I still get $1. But if you have the majority, you get an extra $1. So it's possible to get $1 to $2 for each district. And then we're going to move into the start of the phase for the next turn. And that simply is, reshuffling these, dealing these out, replenishing any of the pelts there. We don't clear those out, we just replenish what's there. And then we're going to clear out the cards down here at the bottom. So we're going to get rid of any ships and any land that wasn't there, and then we're going to deal out new ones. Now for both of the decks, there's basically 2 decks stacked on top of each other. There's 1620 and then 1630. And you basically just play the game. There's 6 rounds, and then you're just going to go through both decks. The ships get a little bit better. They want more pelts. They give you some more money. And then that's pretty much the game. Oh, I should tell you, there's end of game scoring. You're going to have a final election here in the city. Basically 3 again for majority, 2 if you're tied. And then you're going to look at your land cards here again to the right. And if you have one that you had filled up with farms but you hadn't quite cleared, you're going to get the amount of points indicated here. And then each good, or each thing, basically for every 3 of these is going to get you a point. But the pelts here are worth 1 point just for 1 of these. And that's pretty much the game. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. I really enjoyed this game. It's a little bit on the lighter side, I would say, but it's definitely in that medium range. I'd say it's probably a solid medium. It's kind of hard to categorize that kind of thing for people. The thing that is going to throw you off the first time, and I think especially if you play this with fewer players, especially 2-player, which I haven't played it with 2, is going to be the valuation and bidding on those action tiles. Because just as an example, I mentioned it in the previous part of the video, if you get like 3 of the building ones and you just do like 3 elections, and you've got majority in like 3 places or something, that's going to be 9 times 3. It's going to be 27 points. Now, you're going to forsake that for, you're not going to do any trading, you won't be able to develop your land, things like that. And if you don't develop your land, you're not going to be generating corn to be able to sort of feed those businesses and keep them on the board and not lose points for having to remove them. But, the configuration of how those action tiles are going to come out is going to be key. There's going to be some study that has to go in there, especially if you're the first player, to know what that right price is and know where to, which one to choose and what you're kind of set up for. So it's going to be difficult to pin down and try to have a balanced game with everybody. Now, as you add more players, there's going to be more players, there's going to be more sort of smattering of those action icons throughout that auction board. That's going to be a little bit easier to digest, for people. So, but it's kind of like any, it's kind of true of any bidding auction game where it's like, I don't know what this is worth, so 6, whatever. So there's that. So that I think, but I like that because that's going to give you some replayability and some depth and in lots of ways to kind of tinker, and because those things are going to come out differently every time. The available pelts are going to be different every time because remember, you want like basically one kind of pelt you know, to kind of maximize your shipping victory points. So that's going to be interesting. Now the thematic part of it I really enjoy, because it's kind of like, okay, you're getting land, you're turning it into a farm, but you're eating away the Indians' land. But, you know, so you're kind of pushing them down the road a bit, but you still want to trade with them so you can kind of send your goods back home. You know, you're in there kind of developing that city area. So there's that aspect to it too. So there's kind of that dual thing. It kind of has that Euro feel of it. It's like, okay, there's a lot of ways to score points. I can score points by, you know, doing well in the city and getting elections. I can score points by developing my farming area. And I can score points by, you know, trading with the Indians and trading it back. So it has that thing that I think, you know, some folks don't like about Euros, where it's like, well, how many ways can I score points? But what I really like about this is it's all kind of nicely integrated. So, and it makes sense thematically in that sense, because one thing is going to sort of influence the other as you develop land and push the Indians away, and now you've got to spend food, and you want to keep the food to feed the businesses and things like that. And the components and all the icons and the little charts and everything are very well done. You know, the production quality is high. Those houses are nice and chunky. So anyway, this is definitely an enjoyable game, and I'm actually interested to play this with 2 players, because, you know, I'm just curious how that experience will be, because it's not going to be as contentious in some way, but I think you got to be a lot more careful, because if you, well, as an example, I just played a game and I won by a lot of points, because the person that was going before me really should have bid, like, they said I should have bid like 20 on that, because there was a nice column. It was the last round, and I think they bid 10, and I was like 11. You know, no brainer, because I got scored like 35 points in that round through a variety of things. So, you know, if he had bid it a lot higher, then he would have made me pay a lot more and made me think about it, because again, you auction with all of your different things. I mean, that's pretty cool too, but you're like, well, I've got money, but, you know, I want to save this money because I want to buy wood for my special action in the second phase. But, you know, I don't want to spend corn, because I've got this corn in a reserve to feed my buildings. And I like how it's got, you know, that whole thing with all the different goods kind of working generically the same for a little bit, but they each have a specific thing. So instead of like, and this is the thing where it kind of breaks from the junky Euro stuff, instead of like, I'm just pushing cubes to turn stuff into other things, this gets away from that, where it's like, now the value of the good and the item is very much driven out of kind of the interaction of the players and what people have. You know what I mean? I wish I could say this better, but the value comes from the game happening, you know? It's not just like, these cubes are always worth 3 victory points. It doesn't work out like that. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. So I think there's a lot of room to explore and depth here, and hopefully, you know, people can take a look at this and really get into it. You know, it's nice because it's not super complex or doesn't hit you over the head. So and it's refreshing in that way. So anyway, so that's Nieuw Amsterdam. Definitely take a look at it, and you know, just you got to give this a play or 2 before you really kind of get the feel of, you know, getting your butt kicked because you bid wrong. And again, that bid is like, and we talked about this tonight actually, is maybe there could be a variant where the auctioning wasn't like, you know, just kind of name your price and you go once around the table. Maybe you could go round and around. I understand why it's like that. I like it like that, but people I've played it with didn't really care for that. It was a little bit too much pressure. But, you know, I don't know. I like it. I think it's interesting, but I think there's room probably for a variant there. I haven't, you know, sat down to think about what a solid variant might be. But anyway, so that's it. Thanks.